The sleek, obsidian hull of the Tentheri scout ship glided silently through the inky blackness of space, its adaptive camouflage rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of stars. Inside, First Scout Zalrin hunched over his control panel, his four eyes widening in surprise as he processed the data streaming in from the unassuming blue-green planet before him. "Impossible," he muttered, his tentacles twitching with excitement. Zalrin had been tasked with charting this unremarkable sector of the galaxy, expecting nothing more than barren rocks and perhaps some primitive microbial life. Instead, he'd stumbled upon something extraordinary, a species on the brink of interstellar travel. The scout's sensors painted a picture of a world teeming with technology. Satellites orbited the planet, cities glowed with artificial light, and the upper atmosphere buzzed with primitive spacecraft. But what truly astonished Zalrin was the speed at which this civilization was advancing. He called up historical data, comparing it to his current readings. In just over a century, these beings had progressed from rudimentary combustion engines to the threshold of faster-than-light travel. It was unprecedented in the annals of galactic history. Zalrin's excitement quickly turned to unease as he delved deeper into his observations. These humans, as they called themselves, were a study in contradictions. They created art of breathtaking beauty and music that stirred even his alien soul. Yet they also waged war with a ferocity that made him shudder. Their capacity for both love and hate, creation and destruction, was unlike anything he had encountered in his long career. As the rotation of the planet revealed more of its surface, Zalrin noticed something else: diversity. Unlike most sentient species, which tended towards homogeneity, humans displayed a staggering variety of cultures, languages, and physical characteristics. It was as if they were not one species, but hundreds, somehow unified yet distinct. The Council must know of this, Zalrin decided, initiating his ship's faster-than-light communications array. Light years away in the gleaming spires of the Galactic Council's headquarters, Zalrin's report caused an immediate stir. The Council chamber, a vast amphitheater housing representatives from thousands of species, erupted into chaos as the implications became clear. High Counselor Xyra, her crystalline form shimmering with agitation, called for order. Silence, her telepathic voice boomed, instantly quieting the chamber. "We must approach this with caution. These humans represent a unique situation." Krex, the hulking representative of the warrior Borith race, growled in disagreement. "Unique? They're a threat. A species advancing that quickly cannot be allowed to join the galactic community. They must be contained, or eliminated." Murmurs of agreement and protest rippled through the chamber. Ira raised a glittering appendage, silencing the debate. "We are not conquerors, Krex. We are guardians of peace and progress. These humans deserve our consideration, not our fear." An aged Valoran, skin wrinkled and gray, floated forward. "High Counselor, if I may, I propose we observe these humans further before making any decisions. Their potential is undeniable, but so too is their capacity for self-destruction. They may yet extinguish themselves without our intervention." Jaira nodded slowly. "A wise suggestion. We shall watch and wait, but let our decision here be known throughout the galaxy. Beware of the humans, not as a threat, but as a force of change. They may reshape the very foundations of our civilization." As the council dispersed, none noticed the shadowy figure slipping away from the chamber, eyes gleaming with malicious intent. The warning about humanity would spread, but not everyone would heed it. In the darkness between stars, the drums of war were already beginning to beat. The Alliance fleet emerged from hyperspace into chaos. The Star Forge loomed before them, a colossal structure that dwarfed even the largest battleships. Surrounding it, a swarm of newly minted Zarketh vessels moved to intercept. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comms. "All ships, engage at will. Strike Team, you have your mission. The fate of the galaxy rests in your hands." As the space around them erupted into a dazzling firefight, The strike team's shuttle weaved through the melee, its stealth systems straining against the pulsar's intense radiation. Inside, tension was palpable. Dr. Tanaka pored over the Starforge schematics they'd hastily downloaded. The station's core is drawing power directly from the pulsar. If we can disrupt that connection, the entire structure should collapse. And if we fail? O'Connor asked, her hand steady on the shuttle's controls. Zixara's multifaceted eyes blinked solemnly. Then the pulsar's energy will tear a hole in space-time, potentially destroying this entire sector, or worse. As they approached the Starforge, a familiar voice boomed across all frequencies. So, the heroes have arrived. Vexlor sneered. Come then, let me show you the futility of your resistance. The station's defenses came alive, filling space with a lethal web of energy beams. O'Connor's piloting skills were pushed to their limits as she navigated the gauntlet. There, Kralvox bellowed, pointing at a small opening in the superstructure. That exhaust port, it could lead us to the core. O'Connor needed no further prompting. The shuttle dove, narrowly squeezing into the aperture. They raced through a twisting maze of corridors, the ship scraping against the walls as the passage grew tighter. They burst into a cavernous chamber, the heart of the Starforge. A pulsing column of energy connected the floor and ceiling, so bright it was painful to look at directly. That's our target, Tanaka said, already moving to deploy their makeshift disruptor. But Vexlor was waiting. The Zarketh general, clad in battle armor, stood between them and the core. Fools, he snarled. You've come all this way just to die. What followed was a desperate battle. O'Connor and Kralvox engaged Vexlor in close combat, while Zixara and Tanaka worked feverishly to set up the disruptor. The chamber shook with the force of their conflict, alarms blaring as the station's systems began to overload. In a final decisive moment, Zixara saw an opening. She lunged, her smaller frame slipping past Vexlor's defenses. For a free galaxy, she cried, slamming the disruptor against the energy column. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The column flickered and died, and the Starforge began to tear itself apart. Vexlor, his eyes wide with disbelief, was pulled into the collapsing energy field. We need to go now, O'Connor shouted, dragging the wounded Kralvox back to the shuttle. Their escape was a blur of collapsing corridors and explosive decompressions. As they burst free of the disintegrating station, the pulsar's energy, no longer contained, lashed out in all directions. In a desperate gambit, Tanaka rerouted power to the shuttle's deflector shields. I'm inverting the shield harmonics, she explained rapidly. It might disperse the energy wave. As the pulsar's fury washed over them, the shuttle's shields glowed brightly, bending the destructive energy around them. In its wake, the Starforge imploded, taking with it Vexlor and his dreams of galactic domination. The Alliance fleet, battered but victorious, regrouped around the shuttle. As the dust settled, Admiral Chen's voice came through once more. Strike team, you've done it. The Zarketh fleet is in full retreat. The war is over. As cheers erupted across the fleet, the strike team shared a moment of quiet reflection. They had faced the darkness at the edge of creation and emerged, forever changed. In the days that followed, a new galactic order would emerge. Earth, once an unknown backwater, now stood as a beacon of hope and unity. The symphony of stars, once discordant with war, now hummed with the promise of a harmonious future. The universe, vast and mysterious, awaited exploration. And humanity, tested by fire and united with new allies, was ready for the challenge. The vast emptiness of space was suddenly punctuated by the arrival of the Zarketh invasion fleet. Hundreds of ships, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. At the fleet's center, the massive dreadnought Starfire loomed ominously, its weapon systems already humming to life. Aboard the Galactic Council's diplomatic vessel, Harmony, Counselor Lyria watched the invasion force with mounting horror. Her luminous, moth-like wings fluttered in agitation as she turned to her aide. "We're too late," she whispered, her antennae drooping. "The Zarketh have already mobilized." But Lyria was not one to give up easily. As the sole dissenting voice in the Council's recent vote for war, she had taken it upon herself to warn humanity. Now, with precious little time remaining, she knew she had to act fast. "Prepare a tight beam transmission to Earth," she ordered. "We must bypass the Zarketh's communication jammers." As her crew scrambled to comply, Lyria composed a message that would forever change the course of human history. "People of Earth," she began, her voice trembling with urgency, "you are in grave danger. An alien force approaches with hostile intent. The Galactic Council has been deceived, manipulated into sanctioning this unjust war. Prepare yourselves, for the very future of your species hangs in the balance." Just as the transmission was sent, alarms blared throughout the Harmony. A Zarketh battlecruiser had detected their presence and was moving to intercept. "Counselor," her chief of security warned, "we've been spotted. We must leave immediately." Lyria nodded grimly. "Set course for Earth. We must do what we can to help them prepare." As the Harmony sped towards the blue planet, the crew watched in awe as humanity's response unfolded. Within hours of receiving Lyria's warning, Earth's nations set aside their differences and united against the common threat. Military installations worldwide went on high alert, while civilians were evacuated to underground shelters. Most impressively, a hastily assembled fleet of Earth's prototype spacecrafts took up defensive positions around the planet. Though primitive by galactic standards, these ships represented humanity's indomitable spirit and resourcefulness. Back on the Starfire, General Vexilor received news of the leaked warning with cold fury. "Find the source of that transmission," he snarled at his subordinates. "I want whoever is responsible eliminated." It didn't take long for Vexilor's agents to trace the message back to Lyria. With a cruel smile, the general formulated a plan that would not only remove the troublesome counselor, but also further his anti-human agenda. As the Harmony approached Earth's orbit, a squad of Zarketh assassins teleported aboard. In the ensuing chaos, Lyria managed to record one final message, exposing Vexilor's conspiracy. But before she could send it, a plasma bolt struck her squarely in the chest. Vexilor wasted no time capitalizing on the situation. Using doctored footage, he broadcasted a galaxy-wide announcement. "It is with great sorrow that I report the assassination of Counselor Lyria by human extremists. This unprovoked act of aggression only confirms the danger these primitives pose to galactic peace." As the false news spread, support for the invasion grew. Yet, unbeknownst to Vexilor, Lyria's final message had been automatically encoded into the Harmony's black box. The truth was not lost, merely waiting to be discovered. On Earth, as the first wave of alien ships entered the atmosphere, humanity steeled itself for the fight of its life. The war that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy, was about to begin. The sky over Earth's major cities burned crimson as Zarketh warships pierced the atmosphere. Their initial target, humanity's fledgling lunar base, Armstrong City. The installation, a symbol of human achievement and a crucial defensive position, erupted in a spectacular explosion visible from Earth's surface. In Mission Control, Houston, Dr. Samantha Chen watched in horror as the feed from Armstrong City went dark. Tears streamed down her face, but her voice remained steady as she addressed the room. "We've lost the moon. All personnel, initiate Protocol Omega. This is not a drill." Across the globe, humanity's response was as swift as it was fierce. Military bases scrambled jets and activated experimental energy shields. In orbit, Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet engaged the alien armada, their outdated weapons seeming pitiful against the advanced Zarketh technology. Yet it was not in humanity's nature to go quietly. In New York, as Zarketh dropships descended on Manhattan, A group of civilians led by former Marine Sarah O'Connor orchestrated a daring counterattack. Using construction equipment and improvised weapons, they managed to bring down an alien shuttle, proving that the invaders were not invincible. Meanwhile, in the skies above London, RAF pilot James Harper flew his Typhoon fighter directly into the path of a Zarketh plasma beam, meant for Buckingham Palace. His sacrifice bought precious time for the royal family and government officials to evacuate, rallying the British people's resolve. In Beijing, as alien ground forces pushed towards the Forbidden City, elderly Tai Chi master Wang Fei Hong led a group of martial artists in hand-to-hand combat against the invaders. Their seemingly futile stand inspired a nationwide resistance movement, tying up Zarketh resources in endless urban skirmishes. But it was in an underground lab in Geneva where the tide of war began to turn. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a brilliant young engineer working on Cern's particle accelerator, made a startling discovery. The exotic particles produced by the collider had an unexpected effect on alien technology, causing critical systems failures. As Dr. Tanaka worked feverishly to weaponize her discovery, the battle raged on. Cities burned, millions perished, but humanity's spirit remained unbroken. In orbit, the crew of the ISS, led by Commander Elena Rodriguez, sacrificed themselves to crash the station into a Zarketh mothership, destroying both in a fiery explosion that lit up the night sky. On the ground, stories of heroism emerged from the chaos. In Mumbai, a group of Bollywood stunt performers used their acrobatic skills to outmaneuver alien patrols, becoming legendary resistance fighters. In Rio de Janeiro, favela gangs set aside their rivalries to mount coordinated guerrilla attacks against the invaders. As the first day of the invasion came to a close, General Vexilor found himself grudgingly impressed by humanity's resilience. "These primitives fight with a ferocity I've never seen," he admitted to his second-in-command. "No matter. Increase the bombardment. We'll break their will soon enough." But Vexilor had gravely underestimated his opponent. In Geneva, Dr. Tanaka's team had just successfully tested their particle weapon. As news of the breakthrough spread through secure channels, a glimmer of hope sparked in the hearts of Earth's defenders. The war was far from over. Humanity had suffered grievous losses, but they had also scored important victories. As the sun set on a world forever changed, the human race prepared for day 2 of the fight for their very existence. The Zarketh would soon learn that conquering Earth would cost them dearly, in blood and steel. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's hands trembled as she inserted the final component into the prototype particle disruptor. The device, no larger than a smartphone, represented humanity's best hope against the overwhelming Zarketh forces. As the weapon hummed to life, a thin smile crossed her exhausted face. "It works," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant sound of explosions. "Now we fight back." Across the Atlantic, in the ruins of MIT, a team led by Dr. Marcus Blackwood had been working on a different approach. Inspired by Earth's microscopic defenders, they had engineered a virus. But this was no ordinary pathogen. It targeted the silicon-based circuitry of Zarketh technology. As both teams rushed to mass-produce their inventions, the tide of war began to shift. In Paris, resistance fighters armed with particle disruptors ambushed a Zarketh patrol, their advanced armor crumbling under the exotic particles. Simultaneously, in Tokyo, aerosolized tech virus was released near a Zarketh command post, causing their communications to fail spectacularly. General Vexilor, watching from his orbiting flagship, felt the first stirrings of unease. "How are these primitive apes doing this?" he snarled, smashing a holographic display in frustration. His answer came in the form of a most unexpected ally. Zixera, a young Zarketh scientist, had become disillusioned with the invasion. Risking everything, she transmitted a message to Earth's defenders. "Humans," her translated message began, "I bring vital information. The attack on your world was orchestrated by General Vexilor through lies and manipulation. Many in the Galactic Council oppose this war. I offer my knowledge to aid your resistance." Initially met with skepticism, Zixera's defection proved invaluable. Her insights into Zarketh physiology allowed Dr. Blackwood's team to refine their virus, making it even more devastating to the invaders' technology. As news of the alien defector spread, it sparked a new fire in the hearts of Earth's defenders. Humanity's guerrilla tactics, already effective, became lethal with their new understanding of Zarketh weaknesses. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous tribes, guided by Zixera's knowledge, used local plant toxins to incapacitate Zarketh ground forces. In the Afghan mountains, resistance fighters leveraged the terrain and their new weapons to ambush and destroy entire alien squadrons. Vexlor, enraged by the betrayal and the sudden shift in the war's momentum, made a critical error. He ordered a full-scale orbital bombardment, disregarding the potential damage to the very resources he sought to claim. As massive energy weapons rained destruction from above, humanity unveiled its masterstroke. Hundreds of particle disruptors, strategically placed around the globe, activated simultaneously. The exotic particles they emitted formed a shimmering barrier in the upper atmosphere, deflecting the brunt of the Zarketh attack. In that moment, as billions watched the alien energy weapons dissipate harmlessly against the particle shield, a roar of triumph rose from every corner of the Earth. Humanity had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, more united than ever before. But the war was far from over. Vexlor, his initial strategy in tatters, prepared for a protracted conflict. On Earth, leaders grappled with the realization that their next moves would shape not just the fate of their world, but potentially the entire galaxy. As the particle shield shimmered overhead, Dr. Tanaka and Dr. Blackwood, the architects of humanity's resurgence, shared a moment of quiet reflection. "We've bought ourselves time," Tanaka mused, "but now comes the hard part." Blackwood nodded solemnly. "Indeed. Now we must decide what kind of galactic civilization we wish to build." The hidden blade of human ingenuity had turned the tide. But the true test of humanity's spirit was yet to come. The news of humanity's resilience spread through the galaxy like wildfire, carried by smugglers, merchants, and rogue communication boys. On countless worlds under Zarketh influence, oppressed species watched in awe as the primitive humans held their ground against the mighty invaders. On Nexus Prime, a sprawling trade hub, Calvix, a Centaurian information broker, risked everything to broadcast footage of Earth's successful defense. The sight of Zarketh ships crashing against the particle shield ignited a spark of hope in billions of hearts. If the humans can stand against them, Calvix's message concluded, so can we all. The response was immediate and unprecedented. On the mining world of Taurinine, indentured Volcrin workers overpowered their Zarketh overseers, inspired by tales of human guerrilla tactics. In the methane seas of Neptular, the aquatic Zilixa race sabotaged Zarketh fuel refineries, adapting the humans' tech virus to their own unique environment. Back on Earth, military leaders debated their next move. General Elena Santos, her uniform still dusty from frontline combat, addressed the newly formed United Earth Council. "We've survived their initial assault, but we can't wait for the next one," she argued passionately. "It's time we take the fight to them." The decision was made. Earth would reach out to the galaxy's oppressed species, forming a coalition to challenge Zarketh dominance. Humanity's first extraterrestrial embassy was established on Nexus Prime, with Dr. Yuki Tanaka appointed as Earth's ambassador. As Tanaka's ship broke through Earth's atmosphere, she marveled at how quickly humanity had adapted to its new reality. The particle shield now doubled as a space dock, buzzing with activity as newly constructed hybrid ships prepared for their maiden voyages. These vessels, a fusion of reverse-engineered Zarketh technology and human innovation, represented the best of both worlds. Captained by Earth's finest and crewed by a mix of humans and alien defectors, they carried hope to the far reaches of the galaxy. On the Zarketh homeworld, General Vexlor faced mounting pressure. The war he had promised would be a swift conquest had become a costly quagmire. Worse, the humans' example was inciting rebellion across Zarketh-controlled space. In a desperate bid to maintain control, Vexilor ordered a media blackout and increased oppression on subjugated worlds. But his efforts came too late. The echoes of Earth's rebellion had already taken root. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Tanaka stood before a diverse assembly of alien representatives. The chamber buzzed with a mixture of hope and skepticism. "We come not as conquerors," Tanaka began, her voice firm and clear, "but as liberators. Earth extends its hand in friendship and alliance. Together, we can build a galaxy free from Zarketh tyranny." As she spoke, the assembly's mood shifted. Tentacles waved in approval, bioluminescent appendages flashed in excitement, and translators worked overtime to convey the rising enthusiasm. By the session's end, the Galactic Alliance for Freedom was born. Earth, once isolated in the cosmic ocean, now stood at the center of a growing interstellar coalition. As news of the alliance spread, more worlds rose up against their Zarketh oppressors. The empire that had stood for millennia began to crumble from within. Aboard the flagship of Earth's new fleet, Admiral James Chen watched as his crew, a mix of humans and alien allies, worked in perfect harmony. "Send word to all ships," he commanded, his voice filled with determination. "We make for Zarketh space. The liberation of the galaxy begins now." As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, the stars themselves seemed to echo with the promise of freedom. The galaxy would never be the same again. The Zarketh homeworld, Vexthora, loomed large on the viewscreens of the Galactic Alliance flagship Unity. Its atmosphere swirled with toxic gases, and its surface was covered in sprawling megacities protected by energy domes. At the heart of the largest metropolis stood the imposing citadel of command, General Vexilor's seat of power. Admiral Chen surveyed the formidable defenses with a grim expression. "This is it, people. The culmination of everything we fought for." Beside him stood an unlikely team. Dr. Tanaka, the brilliant scientist-turned-ambassador; Zixara, the Zarketh defector; Kralvox, a hulking Volcran demolitions expert; and Captain Sarah O'Connor, hero of the New York Resistance. "We have one shot at this," Tanaka reminded them. "If we can capture Vexilor and expose his lies, the entire Zarketh Empire could crumble." As the Alliance fleet engaged the Zarketh Armada in a massive space battle, drawing attention away from Vexthora, the strike team boarded a stealth shuttle. Using a combination of Zixara's inside knowledge and human ingenuity, they slipped past the planet's defenses. Landing in the outskirts of the capital, the team navigated through shadowy alleyways and underground tunnels. They encountered unexpected allies, a group of Zarketh dissidents who had long opposed Vexilor's warmongering. "Not all of us believe in this senseless conquest," their leader, Nixala, explained. "We've been waiting for a chance to overthrow the military regime." With the dissidents' help, the team infiltrated the citadel. As they fought their way through waves of elite guards, each member's unique skills proved crucial. Kralvox's explosive expertise cleared seemingly impassable barriers, while O'Connor's tactical genius kept them one step ahead of enemy patrols. Finally, they reached the heart of the citadel, Vexilor's command center. But as they burst through the doors, they found not the general, but a massive hologram of his sneering face. "Did you really think I'd be here, waiting for you?" His voice boomed. "While you've been busy with your little raid, I've been preparing our species' ultimate weapon." The hologram shifted, revealing a massive space station in orbit around a distant star. "Behold, the Star Forge," Vexilor gloated. "With it, we can create entire fleets in days. Your pitiful alliance will be crushed, and the galaxy will kneel before the Zarketh." As the team reeled from this revelation, Zixara noticed something odd about the star the station orbited. "That's no ordinary star," she gasped. "It's a pulsar. The energy emissions, they could power weapons beyond anything we've ever seen." Tanaka's mind raced. Or they could tear the fabric of space-time itself. Vexilor's not just planning conquest, He's risking the destruction of the entire galaxy. O'Connor turned to Nixala. Can you take control of this facility? We need to warn the fleet. The dissident nodded grimly. We'll do our best, but stopping that station is up to us, Tanaka finished. She turned to Admiral Chen's image on her communicator. Admiral, we have a new target. Sending coordinates now. As Nixala and her team worked to secure the Citadel and expose Vexler's lies to the Zarketh public, the strike team raced back to their shuttle. The fate of not just Earth or the Alliance, but the entire galaxy now hung in the balance. As they broke atmosphere, the enormity of their task settled over them. They were heading towards a superweapon that could reshape the cosmos, commanded by a madman with nothing left to lose. The final battle for the galaxy's future was about to begin. The Alliance fleet emerged from hyperspace into chaos. The Starforge loomed before them, a colossal structure that dwarfed even the largest battleships. Surrounding it, a swarm of newly minted Zarketh vessels moved to intercept. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comms. All ships, engage at will. Strike team, you have your mission. The fate of the galaxy rests in your hands. As the space around them erupted into a dazzling firefight, the strike team's shuttle weaved through the melee, its stealth systems straining against the pulsar's intense radiation. Inside, tension was palpable. Dr. Tanaka pored over the Starforge schematics they'd hastily downloaded. The station's core is drawing power directly from the pulsar. If we can disrupt that connection, the entire structure should collapse. And if we fail? O'Connor asked, her hand steady on the shuttle's controls. Zixara's multifaceted eyes blinked solemnly. Then the pulsar's energy will tear a hole in space-time, potentially destroying this entire sector, or worse. As they approached the Starforge, a familiar voice boomed across all frequencies. So, the heroes have arrived. Vexler sneered. Come then, let me show you the futility of your resistance. The station's defenses came alive, filling space with a lethal web of energy beams. O'Connor's piloting skills were pushed to their limits as she navigated the gauntlet. There, Kralvox bellowed, pointing at a small opening in the superstructure. That exhaust port, it could lead us to the core. O'Connor needed no further prompting. The shuttle dove, narrowly squeezing into the aperture. They raced through a twisting maze of corridors, the ship scraping against the walls as the passage grew tighter. They burst into a cavernous chamber, the heart of the Starforge. A pulsing column of energy connected the floor and ceiling, so bright it was painful to look at directly. That's our target, Tanaka said, already moving to deploy their makeshift disruptor. But Vexler was waiting. The Zarketh general, clad in battle armor, stood between them and the core. Fools, he snarled. You've come all this way just to die. What followed was a desperate battle. O'Connor and Kralvox engaged Vexler in close combat, while Zixara and Tanaka worked feverishly to set up the disruptor. The chamber shook with the force of their conflict, alarms blaring as the station's systems began to overload. In a final decisive moment, Zixara saw an opening. She lunged, her smaller frame slipping past Vexler's defenses. For a free galaxy, she cried, slamming the disruptor against the energy column. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The column flickered and died, and the Starforge began to tear itself apart. Vexler, his eyes wide with disbelief, was pulled into the collapsing energy field. We need to go now, O'Connor shouted, dragging the wounded Kralvox back to the shuttle. Their escape was a blur of collapsing corridors and explosive decompressions. As they burst free of the disintegrating station, the pulsar's energy, no longer contained, lashed out in all directions. In a desperate gambit, Tanaka rerouted power to the shuttle's deflector shields. I'm inverting the shield harmonics, she explained rapidly. It might disperse the energy wave. As the pulsar's fury washed over them, the shuttle's shields glowed brightly, bending the destructive energy around them. In its wake, the Starforge imploded, taking with it Vexler and his dreams of galactic domination. The Alliance fleet, battered but victorious, regrouped around the shuttle. As the dust settled, Admiral Chen's voice came through once more. "Strike Team, you've done it. The Zarketh fleet is in full retreat. The war is over." As cheers erupted across the fleet, the strike team shared a moment of quiet reflection. They had faced the darkness at the edge of creation and emerged, forever changed. In the days that followed, a new galactic order would emerge. Earth, once an unknown backwater, now stood as a beacon of hope and unity. The symphony of stars, once discordant with war, now hummed with the promise of a harmonious future. The universe, vast and mysterious, awaited exploration. And humanity, tested by fire and united with new allies, was ready for the challenge.